Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Business as Usual. Thank you for joining us today. It is a really important topic, and we're thrilled to have our guest of George Robinson, who I will introduce momentarily. So I'm joined today by our co-host, Jonathan Kirsting. He's Vice President of Visibility and all things media for the Tech Council. And I want to just tell you a couple of things about today's call. First, it would not be possible without the support of our good friends at Huntington Bank. They have stepped up from the beginning. We're in our 60th or 65th, 67th session.
Who's counting?
Who's counting since COVID hit. And we have a strong pipeline of people that we really want to talk to. And today is no exception. So thank you, Huntington. Thank you for the work that you're doing on our SBA work during this pandemic. I also want to just give you a little bit of an update about what's happening for the rest of this week. Tomorrow we have Dr. Lisa Maragakis, and she is actually a Senior Director of Infection Prevention at Johns Hopkins University. And so most of you should know that most of the data actually comes out of Johns Hopkins. That's considered the most highest integrity data of COVID around the world. So we're very excited about that. And then Friday, we have Po Shen Lo. He's the founder of Expo. He launched the Novid app, and he is with us for Friday. So we're very excited about that. So a couple of things. We've muted you. So muting you only because there's noise going on in the background, but we have a chat, and that chat is used to ensure that you can ask questions of our guest. And so I'm going to jump right in and say that we be thankful for George Robinson. He is the Director of Supplier Diversity and Inclusion at UPMC. UPMC has been very committed to supplier diversity, and they have lots of things that all of us can learn from and apply. And George is going to spend some time doing a little bit of a deep dive on the topics that are near and dear to his heart and his work. So I want to welcome George and bring George to the forefront. Thank you, George, for being here.
Thank you, Audrey, and thank you to the PTC team. It's a pleasure to address the audience today. Having been a member of the audience for 66 previous shows, I'm glad to be able to address the audience today to talk about supplier diversity and inclusion and where UPMC is within our community and across our country in business engagement with diverse vendors.
Well, then let's just jump in. Why don't you start out by talking about your role, why UPMC is committed to supplier diversity, and what have been some of the outcomes? I mean, let's just start.
Sure. So supplier diversity and inclusion has been an integral part of UPMC's business strategy from a procurement standpoint, as well as a community engagement standpoint for almost 25 years. The program began in 1996 and was re-engineered in 2006 to provide business opportunities and information exchange to our diverse community. And so our diverse community includes minorities, women, veterans, disabled veterans, LGBTQ, and disabled businesses. And our prime focus is to again, be that bridge of information, support, advocacy for those vendors that are interested in doing business with UPMC. We also play a significant part with UPMC Health Plan in supporting their efforts to engage diverse vendors from all across multiple strata, from technology to products, goods, and services to consultancy and things of that nature. I'm glad to see several of our vendors on the call today, and I appreciate what they do to help UPMC achieve that life-changing medicine that we so dearly appreciate.
So the commitment to supplier diversity, as you said, is over 2 decades, but over the recent years, you've really sort of amped up the focus.
And that's correct. You know, I stand on the shoulders of a giant, Tony Silva, who retired in December of 2019. She had been in place roughly 14 years in that 2006 period to 2020, where she began to lay a framework of genuine business engagement, genuine business support and advocacy, as well as connection across our diverse business community and UPMC. And with her evolution within that department, they brought me on as manager of supplier diversity in 2018. And just as with so many opportunities, you have a lot of bandwidth and energy and activity that is being metered out. And so upon her retirement and me taking the position as director, I've just turned the faucet wide open in terms of programming, in terms of connectivity, in terms of relationship development, that our vendors so desperately deserve, especially with a system such as UPMC, where we're growing. We're in 3 states with our hospital system, New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And then our insurance product through UPMC Health Plan, we're offering that product in 40 states across the United States. For those that don't know, UPMC is presently in 5 countries. And so we have an international healthcare approach as well. And that entire supplier diversity message is being extended now across our international shores, recognizing that even for those members in your audience in the tech field, that you can provide critical services to our institutions on a global scale. And that's just a part of some of the many things that I've begun introducing within my directorship with UPMC.
So, if small businesses, and when I say small, I use that loosely, right? I mean, it can be all sizes and shapes.
Sure.
But small businesses are interested in becoming new suppliers to UPMC. What is their entry point?
So, for many of them, it's been having a personal relationship with someone within our organization. And because of the advancements of technology and us trying to build more efficient pathways for procurement, as well as our efforts to reduce costs, we've implemented new technology to help those vendors who are interested in soliciting UPMC. So we presently have our Supplier Diversity web portal. That portal was launched roughly 4 months after I started, in an effort to more quickly connect our vendors to our procurement assets. And so that portal, supplierdiversity.upmc.com, enables vendors to register their company, provide a business profile, provide business contact information, a description of your business, as well as identify strategic keywords that most closely align with that vendor's goods, products, or services that they're offering. We also ask that vendors select their NAICS codes, their SIC codes, as well as UPMC category codes. So we do all of this in an effort to connect our procurement assets when they log in on the backside of that portal to most quickly find those businesses, be able to evaluate them, and then if possible, connect them with requests for proposals and other solicitations. And so the old way that we did it, firms had to send in information via paper. We had to keep an Excel database. Folks would call us across our system. We've eliminated all of those steps. We put the power both in that vendor's hands as well as those individuals across UPMC with spend authority to quickly identify those vendors. We step out the way, we let the technology provide that access.
So if people go to the link, we put the link out there and we'll continue to share that. If
Sure.
People go to the link, they can navigate in terms of products and services.
Exactly, and there's a whole host of other resources on that link because UPMC engages in business with certified diverse businesses. So you have to be certified minority, women, veteran, et cetera. We have a wealth of information on certifying agencies, state level, as well as for-profit organizations that provide certification. We have frequently asked questions that will help individuals that have concerns or questions regarding that certification process, as well as how we conduct business. Quite frankly, our department has sort of leapfrogged supply chain management in terms of being forward facing. And so we have, many instances where non-diverse vendors want to find more information, and we actually have resources for non-diverse businesses as well on how to connect with UPMC supply chain management.
Okay, so that's terrific. Thanks for your work and all that automation and making things seamless. I think a lot of people get intimidated when they think about UPMC and opportunities there. So talk about how you work to build the capacity of small businesses. And that's really what I'm interested in.
Sure. So, the issue surrounding capacity is always at the forefront with an organization such as UPMC. When we engage in contractual relationships with the vendor, we want to be sure that that vendor has the capacity, has the wherewithal, has the resume, or is interested in developing that resume to help us, again, achieve that life-changing medicine in interacting with our customers, our patients, as well as our employees and other stakeholders. And so here recently, our department was challenged by senior leadership within UPMC Health Plan, who had more of a community-facing role to say, hey, look, we've seen everything from the state disparity study showing how disparate diverse businesses are in terms of numbers of minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses. What can we do as an organization to assist those companies, number one, to better themselves through education, knowledge, and training, but two, to begin developing relationships with organizations such as UPMC. And so I, along with several community partners, have developed the UPMC Diverse Business Education and Development Program. We have a very strong relationship with Pitt's Small Business Development Center, where we've deployed our Essentials for Success program. Several of the participants on the call here, I think, are graduates. And that program is specifically identified for businesses that have never done business with UPMC or are startup companies that require not only that initial touch of, business engagement with UPMC, who some of the players are, where some of the resources are, but to also have the assistance from Pitt Small Business Development Center and Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence, walk alongside that company and help them grow, whether it's in insurance, whether it's in business planning, whether it's financial, et cetera. They walk alongside them. They understand our initial hurdles as well as entry points. They understand our web portal and helping businesses craft those profiles and things of that nature. So that's for our startup companies and businesses that haven't done business with UPMC. To date, we've had over 300 participants in that program itself. We also have another program called 7 Pillars, and that's actually run through Amasello Cares. That program is especially for businesses that are currently doing business with UPMC, diverse businesses who are doing business with UPMC, but we recognize that there are areas of improvement that company could benefit from. And so we actually have a support program in place with Amasello Cares and their 7 Pillars program, where we have businesses walk alongside them, where they evaluate them, find those areas of weakness, and provide strength and resources to help them be better vendors to UPMC. Go ahead, Audrey.
So can you reiterate the name of the diversity education program? Okay, so we put that out there.
Right, so it's actually a 3-legged stool. We have 3 programs within our diverse business and education program. The first one is Essentials for Success, and that's marketed through Pitt's Small Business Development Center. Our second program is our Amasello Care 7 Pillars program. That's marketed through Amasello and Amasello Cares. That's with Joshua Pollard and Jason Flowers. And then our third component, which wouldn't necessarily be tech related, but it does have some tech leanings, is our Turner School of Construction Management, where we've partnered with Turner Construction, who has a 50-year-long history of deploying their Turner School of Construction Management, where we bring in construction companies, engineering companies, design companies that need to gain a better understanding of the scale, scope, size, and level of projects that UPMC deploys, and Turner having that history as well as business relationship with UPMC. Walks along that participant in an 8-week-long program where they bring on various specialists throughout Turner to discuss construction issues and concerns, as well as topics to help build that participant's capacity and knowledge of what is really expected of you when approaching an organization such as UPMC.
And
So those are our 3 programs, and just that one offering that we have community-wide.
That's excellent. So do you publish anywhere the criteria for selection for the vendors to see?
So that's a unique question. We don't necessarily publish it, but when you participate in our education and development programs, you are provided that.
Got it.
And that's our way of staying within our corporate structure, where we can't necessarily advantage one business over another. But when you go through our programming, we do provide those resources and information. But just real quickly for the audience, we look at 4 factors in terms of qualifying businesses. Number 1, are you a certified diverse business? Number 2, do you understand what the need is of UPMC as it relates to your product? I give this talk in our Essentials program. Everyone wants to sell to UPMC. We currently spend in the neighborhood of about $3 billion in sourceable spend. That means where we get to choose where we spend the money goes. Everyone wants to sell to us, but not everyone can. And so, being able to, throughout your business development process as a vendor, understand what that need is. Realizing we have an arm of UPMC Enterprise, in that tech space, where we ourselves are creating tech, software, hardware, appurtenances, everything like that, where we're actually selling to other healthcare organizations. So really just being able to find out how your product aligns with our need. The third key thing is recognizing there's a national and global conversation around healthcare costs. Being able to deploy high value and understand that cost is going to be a concern. As an advocate, I realize that businesses, you have to set your price and live your life. That's the nature of your company. But you also have to understand that we as a healthcare provider are looking at overall costs in medicine and in healthcare. And one of those key areas that we look at is our vendors and where we can find, value as well as cost consideration in addition to that quality product that you're offering.
So, you have a strong network of diverse suppliers that are already serving UPMC. Is there any way for other companies who might want to work with some of those firms to get connected?
So that's a unique question. We don't necessarily publish our list of vendors, but what we do have is on an annual basis, UPMC birthed a program called Share. And what Share is a opportunity for our corporate community to market their diverse vendors amongst themselves. What we've done with Share, which here in Pittsburgh, we're in our 5th year of celebrating Share. We are in the process of holding our 3rd Share Harrisburg this week. We actually open up registration initially to our corporate partners. So it's not only UPMC, but say PPG, Highmark, Duquesne Light, the universities and others, where we get to invite companies to participate. But then we're also looking at giving some consideration to opening it up to the public. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 era that we're in, we postponed our Share Pittsburgh, which was originally scheduled in April, to October. And so that will be a live in-person event. Our Share Harrisburg is presently a web-based matchmaking session that'll be happening this week. So just stay tuned for additional information on SHARE. And Audrey, you and I and your team have discussed PTC's involvement with SHARE Pittsburgh. Again, October 13th, we hosted at Rivers Casino. That's one of our major community partners. And, we're looking forward to growing that number of participants in SHARE.
No, I mean, I can tell you, and I can tell everyone candidly here, while the concept of supplying and, being a part of a supply forum I've been really impressed with the amount of thought and meticulousness that has gone into the work as you think about SHARE. Being in the tech community, I like to get everything done pretty quickly. And George is like, there's a process, and we're going to work with you on the process. He's going to chuckle because I did say how soon
yeah.
work on this, and he told me,
take your time.
Take your time, Audrey. Take your time. But I appreciate the diligence and the protocol that's gone on over many years, and even more recently as we look to the future and look at diversity and related topics, because that goes into my next question, and then we'll get into some of the questions from our listeners, is for companies that are new to forming supplier diversity programs, like where do they even begin to start? Because there are people on the call that would like to.
No, that's a unique question. And my response is not necessarily geared to the current environment that we're in, but just in the profession itself. I would definitely encourage, those corporations that are interested in developing supplier diversity programs to reach out to larger corporations that have a history with supplier diversity, to give that, true response to how those programs were developed, the types of responses that they have received, and where they are forecasting supplier diversity in terms of priority, not only from a professional perspective, but from a personal perspective. We're currently in evolving times right now as a nation and as a world in terms of supplier diversity. Many people aren't aware, but there are other countries and other geographic regions globally that are now starting to utilize supplier diversity as a part of their business mix. So there's supplier diversity focus in Canada, the UK, South Africa, and oddly enough, China, where supplier diversity is being recognized on a national platform. Another resource that companies can look at are agencies that certify organizations and businesses. So for example, our good friends at the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, National Minority Supplier Development Council, WeBank, those types of organizations can provide you resources in terms of supplier diversity program development. And then oddly enough, there's a lot of information that you can Google online with respect to establishing supplier diversity programs. Korn Ferry has several reports with respect to supplier diversity programming, the current status of supplier diversity from a practitioner standpoint, as well as from a corporation standpoint. So no, there's several resources, talking to those that are in the industry, talking with certifying agencies, and then Googling resources from agencies that evaluate the space.
So I think though, in summation, is that as it relates to UPMC, there's a process, an education process, and as well as a certification process that is required, and it makes you as a company much more appealing all across other companies as well, not just UPMC.
Well, and the nice thing about our particular perspective, and this is something that we share corporate-wide, we want to assist our diverse business community, whether you're doing business with us or someone else.
Right.
I don't care if you're working for Highmark or AmeriHealth, Caritas, or any of our competitors. Our philosophy is we want to help improve you with the goal of eventually being able to do business with UPMC where there is a business need and business alignment. And so, in terms of, having that conversation with respect to the evolution of our program, you know, UPMC, we are prepared to assist other organizations in developing supplier diversity programming just by looking at our playbook, by having conversations with myself and my team and other assets across UPMC in that space. This is something that, again, helps to build a more robust collective community of vendors as well as economic development assets because those vendors become employers just the same.
Right. Yeah. This is really important. So it's good behavior patterns for all of us to learn, all of us.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that I've really grown to appreciate in the recent conversations that we've had, is that once you've gone through this process, your capabilities transcend just UPMC. So that makes
Correct.
you good. That makes you a really good steward. There's a question. There's one question here, and I'm not sure if we actually asked it or you've answered it. So let me see if I can grab it. Jonathan, I see it's called Jeffrey Hurd, and he's asking about, do you see it?
Let me pull it up. Hold on a second. I'm letting people in and out of the thing here. Here's from Jeffrey Hurd. Here we go. Are sourcing buyers required or encouraged to search for diverse suppliers to participate in RFX events?
So in terms of their participation, I can only speak for our supplier diversity efforts. So we've had some bear down knuckle type conversations, of course, in the transition of leadership in terms of what we intend to do, you know, our level of intentionality in terms of diverse VIN spend. I saw another question that had popped up with respect to publishing information on our supplier diversity program. So no, that is not anything that we necessarily make public. But what I will tell you is UPMC exceeds presently, and as our marketing information for this call suggests, you know, our spend exceeds the national average for healthcare and supplier diversity. So that national average of spend for healthcare as it relates to supplier diversity sits between roughly 5 to 7% of a company's overall spend. Right now, we're at roughly 11 with the goal of hopefully reaching 15 of our entire spend. So we're surpassing the national average on that. And we're looking to set some new records. And that's why I'm here today with this conversation, you know, to let your listeners know that, you know, we're open for business, and where we see business alignment, we're going to make it happen.
So if people want to reach out, what's the best way to reach out? So there are people here who are wondering about that.
Sure. So the best way to reach out to us, again, is if you have a business that's established, you can actually register your company. Again, supplierdiversity.upmc.com.
Excellent.
We also have our UPMC Supplier Diversity and Inclusion LinkedIn page. You can actually just keyword search that on LinkedIn. We offer several resources, announcements of information, events and things of that nature. Again, that's keyword UPMC Supplier Diversity and Inclusion. And then if you want to directly contact our office, you can email us at supplierdiversity@upmc.edu. supplierdiversity@upmc.edu. So you have 3 ways.
So no excuses.
No excuses. Right. I won't give my phone number because we're not back to work in our offices, and I respond a lot faster. Our team responds a lot faster to emails.
No, that's awesome. So there isn't anyone who can't find a pathway. You've made yourself accessible. Correct. We know what you're up to now. This is being recorded. We're going to share that. We've shared the links. So, I mean, I can't thank you enough for that, George. I think that, you know, I'm very excited about you teaching us in the tech community about the hows as well as the measurements, because, you know, I like to set a target and I want to achieve that. And I think you've really sort of, you know, just infused myself and my team in terms of really understanding that there's a process and there's protocols, and that matters.
Certainly.
So my hat's off to you for taking your time with us and your patience.
Thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. That was George Robinson with UPMC. He directs global supply and global diversity and suppliers, and he's passionate about it. This has been his work, and if there's anything that you need, we've sent links out. But look, stay tuned, because at the Tech Council, we're going to be working with him and his team and understanding share, and particularly as we go throughout the rest of the year to do some things that are market and demonstrative. So yes. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks UPMC overall. And thank everyone for joining. Join us tomorrow. We're going to have a chance to talk about COVID and some of the global and national trends right from a leader at Johns Hopkins University. And we are trying to continue to remain relevant and keep the community engaged and move the needle. So thank you again, George. Thank you, Jonathan, for being with us. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe and stay connected.